Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the next art class sessions. So for this cycle, the 7-day cycle, we're going to look at incorporating some things you've learned in science with your cloud formations. And we're going to take that and we're going to apply it to using our voice, kind of like we've been talking about with Candy Wiley, how he used his voice in his artwork and helped create a way for others to do it as well. So real quick, I'm just going to review in Canvas this project, and then I'll just demonstrate a couple of pieces. So in Canvas, you're doing this is called Clouds of Emotion. It's lesson 2. You have our I can statements. We have our essential standards. Okay, so again, you're going to be able to do personal voice and use what you've learned through other subjects. As always, I have a picture of the final project here, and this will link to this video. Okay. And then I also have 2 other videos for us. We're going to use bits and pieces of this. This first one, if you click on my Bitmoji, it's going to take you to a video that shows you the human proportions. 4th graders, you're going to be studying that. That's a new thing for you. And then this one, if you click on this one, will take you to a video that where I show you actually how to draw the person with the human proportions. Okay, so again, 4th grade, you'll need to look at those. 5th grade, you'll probably need to review a little bit. So we'll get into that. And then in the processing activity, I have it broken down in still frames with some directions. So if you want to review anything afterwards, you'll have this as always. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is take a day to plan. We'll watch this video or parts of it, and then you're going to design your image in your drawing journal. Okay, so you're going to think about what types of clouds do you want to include and why. Think about why. What are they saying in your voice? What colors do you want to represent them? They don't have to be realistic. And you're also going to have a chance to use different materials. I did mine all in the same material. I don't like the way a couple of them came out, so I'm probably going to rework a couple of them. But for now, I just had to be done with it so I could finish. And then also, how do you want to show yourself? Like, how do you want other people to see you? And this doesn't mean how are you going to be to impress other people? That's not the point. How do you want to be seen? Like when you're all by yourself, who are you, right? Don't try to create something that you just think is because how somebody else is. Okay, this is you. How do you want to be seen? So think about your clothes that you would like to be wearing, the position that you're in, your facial expressions, that kind of thing. All right. So first thing you'll do is you have to divide your paper into 4 sections. Now I chose to do mine in 4 equal sections. Okay, I did it this way, and I did it for a reason. Okay, I did it with the cross, so it kind of forms a cross. Now, and that was part of my voice that I wanted. That does not have to be for you, and it doesn't mean that it's a cross if you do it equally spaced like this. You can do it on equal spots, right? Or you can do them in different directions. So maybe you could do one like this, and then one like this. That gives you 1, 2, 3. All right, so we have to get another one in there. So maybe you could divide this one like this, or maybe you extend it this way. All right, so you've got 1 small, 3, or 2, 3, and 4. So maybe you want one area to be super small and the others to be bigger. Okay, so you can divide this any way you want to, as long as you have 4 sections. All right. Then, whoops, I forgot to close the annotating tool. There we go. All right, and then you're going to draw yourself. Now you can see here, I drew myself in a humble position where I'm Or you could say I'm praying. Okay. I want to be seen as someone who believes, who has faith. So I'm in that position where I'm receiving that faith and the grace, okay, from a higher being, from God. And so I put myself in that humble position and I put it in the middle, on the ground at the base of that cross. Okay, so think about how you want it. Think about how Candy Wiley did his. You might, maybe you want something more regal. Maybe you want to be seen as, a certain stature. You want to be tall, proud. Maybe you want to be seen as a dancer or an athlete. So maybe you want to put yourself into a dancing pose, like a ballerina or like a football player, right? So just think about how you want that. There's a little diagram to remind you. All right, and then you're gonna work in your 4 different types of clouds. And so I'm showing you, we're gonna use some value to do this. Okay, you've all learned about value, and now it's time to really kind of apply it. So I show you the steps here, and I'm gonna demonstrate in a minute with some oil pastels. You can see here, I'm doing it with color pencil. I start with a lighter blue, go in and add a little darker. Remember, it's always easier to make something darker if it's not dark enough. But once you make it really dark, it's really hard to lighten it. Okay, color pencil, you might be able to erase a little bit, but it's never quite the same. And then you're also going to be able to use crayons and oil pastels. So oil pastels and crayons you can't erase. Okay, so start with the lighter color, press hard, press softly, make those variations. I always extend it out, right? So if I'm in here, I made it darker, and then gradually you can see I got lighter. That's because I did softer so that I could blend the next color into it. And then I added a 3rd blue, and then I used white. I went over all of this with the white because sometimes when you take the white and blend it all out, it just kind of smooths it out a little bit for you. Okay. All right. And then I worked through my clouds with the grays. And then I wanted to work on the person a little bit. So I worked on her. I did the shirt, and I don't want to be standing out. I don't mind having attention or being on stage. If none of that frightens me, I got no stage fright, but I want to be more humble, and I want others to see something bigger than myself. So I put myself in dark clothing, very non-descriptive. Okay. I worked in that grass, gave some texture rather to the grass. And then I went and I started working the other clouds. So this cloud right here, the Stratocirrus clouds, I did this all purple, and then I had to use an eraser. So all these little lines here, I actually erased with the edge of the eraser to show that. Okay. So I like these two. These two are all right with me. And I notice how I use some, realistic color, but then also some non-realistic colors. This one here, I tried to erase. This is one of the areas I'm not real thrilled with. You can also do some collage with this, boys and girls. I'm probably gonna go in here and use some white paper or some yellow paper and create the clouds and glue them in, because I don't like the way this came out. This one here, I used red because anger, and notice how I put it behind me. Okay, I like to think that I'm, keep that stormy time behind me and not focus on it when things go bad, but focus on the good, the bright. Okay, so I positioned my body intentionally to show a message. That's my voice. Okay, so I want you to think about how you set your person up there as well. Now, I colored all of mine with color pencil. Okay, the entire thing is with color pencil. There are certain things you can do with color pencil that you can't do with oil pastels. I think I probably could have done a little better job with this area if I had the oil pastels. But didn't have them, or at least I thought I didn't. I actually found a little packet that I can demonstrate with. All right. And notice the value. Okay. I use some dark areas to show where my arm is kind of like shadowing here, right? And then I have some lighter areas showing here in front of me from all this bright light. This yellow, right, is this brightness in front of me, this positive, this joy. This is what I think of when I think of yellow. It's just joy. Okay, so y'all see that? All right, so again, we're going to look at value. Value is kind of what really kind of brings those colors out. So, sure. Okay. So I think I've demonstrated for you several times how to create value with crayons and colored pencil. And if you need to see that, I'll be able to share with you the video with third and second grade. I showed them how to do value with colored pencils. So if you need to see that, let me know, and I'll show you a little piece from that video. Right now, though, I'm going to show you oil pastels. Now, if you don't remember what oil pastels are, if you've never used them, I'm not sure I've used them with you yet. It's been a little while. It's been a couple of years since we've used them, so I may have used them when you were younger. They are basically paint in the form of a crayon, okay? Which means you can do some nice blending with them. And you can use your finger or you can use a paper towel to help blend them. So when you're creating value, remember what I said. You can always go back and make something darker, but it's really hard to make it light. And especially with these, you cannot erase these. Now, if you're using oil pastels for any of your clouds or any of your sections, number one, I would not use it for your person. You will not get the details in your person. So not that, save it for one of the cloud sections. And I would plan on doing it last and not one that touched your person. All right, remember that you're going to have to color around your person. All right, so I would do crayons or something like that near your person and save a section that does not touch your person for the oil pastels. And last, because they will smear if you drag your hand across it while you're working on something else. So save this section for last. All right, but regardless, we're going to start with, I'm going to start with a darker color. All right. And I'm just going to color like with a crayon. I'm just going to kind of blend it all around. I'm not going to press too dark yet because, well, maybe I'll go a little darker up here because I know I want it dark at the top. Like, for example, you know, maybe this was more of a nighttime thing. Okay. And then I'm going to work in a little bit of this lighter blue. And I'm going to bring it up into the first blue. Just and go lightly. I'm not pressing hard here with these. Going up into the other blue. And then I'm going to bring in some light blue. And boys and girls, when you're doing your clouds, sometimes the best way to do it is to actually do the sky around the cloud. I'll show you what I mean in a second. All right, so notice how when I come up into the other blue, it's mixing. See how it's starting to, because they're so soft, they're like paint, they're mixing. All right, so you can use your finger, or if you don't want it to get on your finger, you can take a paper towel and you wrap it around your finger like this. And just gently, don't smear it too much, don't press too hard. You don't want to make it muddy. And you can smear it. Now, if you press harder on the oil pastel, and you have a lot of oil pastel on there, then you can kind of direction it a little bit. But I didn't, I was kind of light, right? And so I'm starting to bring it together. So if that's not dark enough for me, I can now go back in there and add more. So now this time I'm going to press a little bit harder, bring in some more of that purple. All right, I'm going to build these layers. And I'm just going to blend that down a little bit into I'm going to swirl it a little bit so I don't create a line. All right. So if I had a cloud here, you can have that cloud. All right. Maybe there's some layered clouds. You probably can't see that very well. I'm going to come right up close to it. It's kind of like how I showed you in the one that I did. And with oil pastels, you don't have to do in the whole area. And I see it's glaring. Oh my goodness, technology. All right, just gonna blend it out. Now look, I'm starting to get a little bit of a line here that I don't like. There we go. Let's see a little bit more. Okay, so I'm gonna come back in here and I would add a little bit more of this blue, not too much. Otherwise it's gonna overtake that light blue. I might, this time, I might use my finger, because what happens with the paper towel, it keeps your finger from getting dirty, but it can also remove some of the color, right? Obviously, because look, you can see it on the paper towel. Where was I? Oh, there it is, right? It took off a lot of the color on the paper towel. So be very mindful though of the colors that you're mixing. We went over color theory with our stained glass windows. So this should be fresh on in your mind, what colors can mix and what colors cannot. Okay. All right. So that's about that. We will plan first, then we will start our coloring, or start drawing on the main paper. You're gonna have a 12 by 12. You are going to then start coloring. We'll have different things for each of the tables. I'll have it set up so that we don't have to go anywhere. So you don't have to move around the room too much. And then you have the whole week. You have the 7 days to work on this. Okay, but it has to be finished in those 7 days. So all the color pencil will go first, and the crayon, collage, and then oil pastels last. All right, happy creating.